benefits and disasters. No.
Yeah. Looks like we have one. Try to pull it up on our phones first. Let's see. Good. So we got volume. All right. Well, welcome back. Happy Wednesday. And we are back for another Facebook Live, number 170 today. And I am your host, Kristen Weaver, Director of Operations.
I'm Brandy Hawkins, Customer Service Representative.
And I'm Rob Fretz, Texas Parks and Wildlife Game Warden out of Wilson County.
I'm really happy to have you today. We're going to be talking an interesting conversation just in time for our hunting season, looks like. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Price CDRJ. You can visit them online at www.pricecdrj.com. That's Price, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, and Jeep. They have been our sponsor for many videos, and we appreciate them. Visit them here in Floresville on 181, where you can shop cars and careers, and fantastic, huge service center as well. But thank you, Price, for being our sponsor. Next thing we have is our comment contest. So every week as we are live and on this video, we ask you to just make a quick comment at least. Ask us questions if you want to, but those who make comments while we're live are then drawn in a random drawing the next week. So we are going to draw for a winner from last week's comments, and they are going to win a C Street Gift Shop gift bag. So if you would do the honors, please, and draw our winner. Carlos Gill. Okay, great. And Brandy, I'll hand that off to you to reach out. Brandy will be reaching out to Carlos. Congratulations. He is our WCN Live comment contest winner for this week. So exciting. Ooh, which reminds me, another thing before we get into this conversation, but we do want to remind folks that they can watch for our upcoming hunting guide. You can tell us a little bit about that.
So we have a hunting guide. It's a special tab section of the paper, which means it's a separate section. It's going to feature information regarding hunting and the businesses that support that you could go to and visit for your hunting needs. And it's going to be out on the 18th of October.
That's right. So just in time. Be watching for that.
Yeah, any businesses that happen to be watching,
That's right.
reach out to us and we'll be sure to get you in an ad for that section.
It's always a good one.
Yeah.
Great. So back to, we get to start our conversation here. Our title is Exploring Fall and Winter Hunting Seasons with Wilson County Game Warden Rob Fretz. Thank you for being here. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what do you do in our community?
Sure. Thank you all for having me. My name is Rob Fretz. I'm Texas Parks and Wildlife Game Warden. I've been here in Wilson County since 2017. Before that, I was in Brackettville, Kinney County since 2008. So I've really enjoyed being here in Wilson County. I'm originally from Seguin, Texas, so just right up the road. And what I do in this community is a lot for our landowners, but also I like it whenever the schools reach out and I get an opportunity to talk to the kids, elementary, high school, junior high kids, just tell them what we do as Texas Game Wardens.
Great. I'll share this real quick. Well, and then so tell us, as the Wilson County Game Warden, what are your responsibilities?
Sure. So in Wilson County, my responsibilities are mainly hunting and fishing. We have dove season about to kick off tomorrow. So my responsibilities are to checking hunters for license compliance, stuff like that. Also fishing, making sure everybody has a proper fishing license. We have two waterways in Wilson County, San Antonio River and the Cibolo Creek, and so both of those are public. And there are several fishing access points where people, general public, can go fish. So I check for fishing licenses in that. And then in the summertime, I also do water safety on our area lakes. The closest ones for me are Calaveras and Browning Lake in San Antonio, and then we also I also go up to Canyon Lake up there, which right now it's at historic lows, the lake is, but we do a lot of water safety in the summertime as well.
Well, since we're talking hunting and fishing, why don't you start by telling us what a hunting season is and how they are determined in Texas?
In Texas, sure. So like I explained, the South Zone opener starts tomorrow for Wilson County for dove season. And then, of course, we have deer season coming up. We actually have bow season starting at the end of September, beginning of October. And then also at the beginning of November is gun season. Those seasons are determined by our Parks and Wildlife Commission up in Austin. And then they convene before the season even gets started and determine the dates that the seasons are, and then they'll give us to everyone there.
So these dates aren't just random dates. There's like a logic and reason for them.
Yes,
right?
yes. So like dove is migratory, migratory game. So you would typically they start around the beginning of September, and then deer season around here typically Thanksgiving time frame is whenever the rut starts, where the bucks are going after the does, and so that correlates with the hunting season, stuff like that. We don't want to have deer season in May, April, May, whenever the does are giving birth to the fawns, stuff like that.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So in terms of this year, what's new with this with the hunting season, or with hunting, and what should hunters be paying attention to or looking out for?
Sure. So last year was the first year that hunters were allotted to buy digital licenses.
Oh.
And so instead of going to any store establishment that sells the actual paper licenses, now hunters can handle everything over their cell phone, hunters and fishermen, to be able to acquire digital licenses. Believe it or not, this year, the amount of hunters that I've checked, dove hunters, most of them just hand me their cell phone and say, here's my license. It's quick and easy. They have quick access to it, to be able to show it to me. Most people never leave their cell phones behind, so they're always going to have it with them. So that digital format is what's really, last year was our first rollout, and now this year we actually, everything, what's called the super combo, can also be digitally purchased to where they can have everything out there. That's what's really new this year for all of Texas, not just in Wilson County, but all of Texas.
You can still do it both ways.
Yes,
but
yes.
digital
So
is
we
now
do have a
an
lot of
option.
people that like to still go actually have their license in hand. I'm one of those also. I still like to go get my license in hand. But that digital format is available for anybody that so chooses.
So actually, that brings up a question I have. I know you have to tag the animals sometimes and/or the fish. How do you, if you have a digital license, how do you do that?
That is correct. Thank you for bringing that up. So that's a common question that we get. You actually get a digital tag on there, but you still need to attach either with duct tape or something on the game animal that you harvested, the date, your name. It
Oh,
basically
yeah.
takes place,
Mark it.
yes,
Yeah.
of your own for that.
Okay.
Last year, I checked quite a few that had the digital tagging system, and believe it or not, I was able to pull everything right up on the phone. So
That's cool.
So I would assume then you would just go to a link on your phone to
Yes.
actually purchase.
yes, so
You wouldn't have to go to the store necessarily.
correct. The licenses are on our Parks and Wildlife website.
Okay.
On the website, there'll be a link, and you can click licenses, and it'll pull up everything for you to be able to do that.
Wow. That is fascinating. Okay, well, then in terms of hunting regulations, I know there's a hunting regulation book. What are some of the few commonly forgotten or ignored regulations? What happens when you do
Certainly,
that?
certainly.
When you ignore them.
Right. So one of the most common ones that I come across here in Wilson County is hunter's education requirements. And I'll touch a little bit more on that a little bit later in the program. But hunter's ed is part of the laws for anybody that wants to go hunting. And what happens if they don't have hunter's ed and they receive a citation for hunter's education? They have up to 90 days to take the course, and then the case is dismissed. So it's an incentive for people to get their hunter's education. One of the other common violations that I find here in the county is what's known as a harvest log. On the back of your hunting license is a harvest log. And any white-tailed deer, game animal that you harvest, you're required to fill on the back the harvest log. And what that does is it's a check and balances system for the hunter and for any game warden out there to look on the back and determine where this white-tailed deer was taken, because here in Wilson County is different regulations than Bexar County or other parts across the state. So if an individual harvested a white-tailed deer in Wilson County but went up to Bexar County and harvested another white-tailed deer, that harvest log is very crucial for us to look and say, okay, you took that here and this here. So that way there's no question about somebody exceeding the limits here in Wilson County.
Right.
Okay. Cool. So what about what are some good tips for, and the do's and don'ts for every hunter before they even think about packing up their truck?
Sure. So one thing that I always try to tell hunters is even before you even start hunting, most hunters get prepped. They get their blinds set up, their deer feeder set up. And one call that I get a lot of is whenever hunters set their deer feeders up right up against the fence line of a neighboring landowner, and then their deer blind is set off to where any animal is basically where they're going to harvest that animal is right up against the fence line. Well, whenever the other neighbors, they see that, the problem is if a hunter decides to harvest that animal, the round actually might keep going and go onto other people's property. So therefore, that is a violation here in Texas. You cannot, your round or bullet or arrow needs to stay on your property unless you have consent from your neighbor to be able to cross that. So with that setup, we just want hunters to be safe about that. Maybe angle it to where if you were to fire off your bullet, your arrow, that round stays on your property and not goes across to somebody else's property. So that's one of the big things that I see. The other thing that I see here in Wilson County is before the season gets started, get to know your neighbors, know your neighboring landowners where you're going to be hunting. And why this becomes crucial is if you were to harvest a game animal and that game animal runs across and jumps across into somebody else's property, you actually need their permission before you can go retrieve that game animal. Otherwise, you would be trespassing. So what I always tell hunters is get to know your landowners around you, share contact information with them, and explain to them that, hey, if for whatever reason I'm out here hunting and a deer crosses over, can I call you and get permission to be able to go retrieve my game animal? A lot of them will say yes, but they need that notice first before you just go get your game animal. Right. On one side, nobody wants to see an animal go to waste, and we all want everybody to retrieve their animal and their harvest. But on the other hand, trespassing supersedes that.
Right.
So what we want to see is just the beforehand, get all your landowners around you, their contact information to where you can move forward if that were to happen.
And that brought up putting the deer blind against the fence brought up a question: how far do deer normally go for food?
So it varies. I mean, what we were talking about earlier.
Well, okay, guys, we're back. This is part 2 of our conversation because we lost our feed earlier, but no worries. When we'll go back and edit these videos and piece it together for complete if you want to go back and rewatch later, so we'll make it make sense. All right. right, so we're back. This is WCN Live number 170, part 2. We are talking with Wilson County Game Warden Rob Fretz, and our topic is exploring fall and winter hunting seasons. And we were at we really had a great conversation about 15 minutes in when our video dropped out.
Has yours come back up?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm in. So anyway, where were we at? We were at
So,
just kind of-
Elaine had asked a question online,
Okay, let's start there.
about the deer drinking from the pond in the water trough, if that was unusual.
Right, and no, right now, because of our severe drought, the deer are having to travel a lot farther for water. I've seen several deer in these subdivisions laying underneath people's sprinkler systems, everything, just trying to get a drink. So not only the deer, all the wildlife right now.
Yeah.
So if you can keep water available for them, that would be very crucial right now.
Yeah.
Good idea, good to know. Then that really is kind of winding down our conversation with the last few questions here on our list. Tell us where we can go to view all the regulations. I think you may have mentioned it earlier, and how to keep up with those changes.
Sure. So there is called an outdoor annual, and there's an app for iPhones and Androids that free of charge, where you can download, and all the regulations, the season dates, everything that you need is in that outdoor annual, available for everyone to view. So that way, the nice thing about it is you can get on there, and whatever county you're in Texas, it'll say search seasons by county, and let's say Wilson County, you scroll to Wilson, and it pulls up every game animal and game bird, and you can click and determine the season dates, and all the changes for this year are on that outdoor annual. In fact, whenever you first open it up, it gives you a summary of all the changes for not only hunting, but freshwater and saltwater fish.
And you mentioned that's an app?
Yes.
That's also a publication, right? A little booklet?
It was a publication.
Oh, okay.
It used to be a publication, and now everything has gone to an app.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And just in general then, for general education for hunters, where should they go?
Sure. So I talked about it a little bit earlier about hunter's education, and any hunter born after September 1st, 1971 is required to take hunter's education. The best way to go about that, if you're over 17 years old, is go to our main Parks and Wildlife webpage. There'll be a link for education, and you click on education and go through hunter's education, and it's an online course. And once you complete the course, then you've taken hunter's education. For youth, it's a little bit different. For kids ages 9 through 16, you are allowed to take hunter's education also. You just need to conduct an in-person hunter's education that has a field day. To find any of those, you would go to our Parks and Wildlife website under hunter's education, and I believe you can plug in your zip code, and it'll list places where hunter's education is taking place. They just did one this past weekend up at Bass Pro in San Antonio. So these places are where the youth can also get hunter's education. Also with kids are allotted to hunt without hunter's education so long as they're with somebody that has it.
Okay.
And the other thing about the hunter's education is, let's say you have a brand new hunter, never been hunted before and not quite sure about it. There is what's called a hunter's education deferral, and they are allotted to be able to go out and hunt with somebody that has hunter's ed, but it would just give them a chance to say, you know what, hunting is either for me or not for me, to try it out before they go through the actual hunter's education course.
Makes sense. Well, kind of leading into something else, we want to know a little bit, what can you tell us about the Hunters for the Hungry?
Sure. So Hunters for the Hungry, what happens is participating processors, whenever a hunter brings in deer that they want to donate, they tell the processor, hey, I want this to go to Hunters for the Hungry, then the processor processes it and gives it to the local food banks. Also, we do have all of our local churches around and our local food banks. They would be more than willing to have deer meat donated to them. The only thing to keep in mind with deer meat is you cannot sell deer meat in the state of Texas. It is illegal. You can donate and gift deer meat to people, but you cannot turn around and sell it. But the Hunters for the Hungry, it's kind of a link between the processors and the food bank to be able to allow to get that deer meat over there.
Sounds like a nice program. Good. And then I guess that really kind of wraps it up. Where, again, can we go for information about keeping up with Wilson County and Texas hunting and fishing guidelines?
Sure. So, like I said, the app is a good resource to go to for that. Our Parks and Wildlife website a lot of times releases media releases on upcoming changes or changes that just happened. But also, you can reach out to me if you have any questions as far as the regulations go, any kind of questions, concerns, or anything. I'll be more than happy to try to answer them for everyone. And the way you do that is go to our Parks and Wildlife website, and there'll be a link for Game Warden. Whenever you click on Game Warden, it pulls up search Game Warden by county. So what they would do is scroll down to Wilson County, and then from there my name and number pops right up. And it's not only for just Wilson, like I said, all counties in Texas. That's the best way to get a hold of me is through my cell phone right there. So I'll be more than happy to try to answer any questions or concerns with the new changes.
Yeah, well, that's great. Do we have anything we've left out? Anything still that you wanted to share that we didn't cover?
Just we need rain. I hope it rains.
Yes.
But that's it.
Well, this was a really interesting conversation. Thank you for sharing all of that information with everyone. Oops. One more try. Round three.
Round 3. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, we're back. This is part 3 of WCN Live 170, and we are with Rob Fretz, and we were just wrapping up the conversation, but we couldn't just let it break off and leave it like that. Feel free to come back, and we will have the video in 3 parts pieced together, at least on YouTube. So be sure to watch for this. This is great conversation, great information, very pertinent to our area in Texas, South Texas, Wilson County. We had a few comments that you, some readers on our prior videos had made some.
That I was able to find. So one of them was, what is the most asked question by our county residents?
Oh gosh, it varies on the most questions, but or what exactly, but a lot of it mainly has to do with the regulations as far as the dates and stuff of when. Also with deer season upcoming, we actually have what's known as doe days here in Wilson County, and that's Thanksgiving weekend, where every hunter, licensed hunter, is allotted to harvest 2 does here in Wilson County. So a lot of questions pertain to when can I go out and harvest a doe, and that is with the rifle, because used to the only time you could harvest a doe in Wilson County was with a bow, and so now with that Thanksgiving weekend, that 4-day weekend, the other question that gets asked a lot with that is, do I have to do anything after I harvest the white-tailed deer doe? And the answer is yes. You have to report it on the app itself, the My Hunt Harvest app. Okay. And basically that is giving the biologist kind of a check to see where we are with the doe harvest in Wilson County.
And then the other question that came up was deer that are on the side of the road that are hit. I noticed on Facebook earlier this year, as well as my travels, that some, you see them and then they disappear, and then some were marked with a big orange X.
Yes.
So what do you think happened, or can you explain a bit more information on that?
So The deer, of course, we have a lot of deer that get hit all over the county on these roads. And what winds up happening is whenever you see that orange X on the deer, that is our biologist doing testing. And what he's testing the deer for CWD, or chronic wasting disease. And so anytime and it's not just here in Wilson County, it's all over the state of Texas, that you might be driving by and see the orange spray paint. And what that's telling the biologist is he or she has already tested that deer, so they don't test the same deer twice. So it's basically marking to say, okay, I've already tested that deer. And it's just trying to get a whole area-wide test for chronic wasting disease.
Okay. And if somebody saw somebody else hit a deer and then it fell down and they happened to think they could open their tailgate or their trunk and harvest said deer.
Right. So yes, it is illegal in the state of Texas to remove the game animals from the public road right away. And the reason behind that, a lot of people are like, it's just going to go to waste. Well, a lot of times whenever deer get hit by motor vehicles, it winds up really kind of messing up and possibly tainting the meat. So we don't want to, it's not worth anybody getting sick because of a motor vehicle collision with that deer. So no, all the deer need to stay on. Obviously, if it's on the road itself, I will certainly work in conjunction with the local sheriff's department, local PDs, and we'll move it safely off the road to avoid another accident. But that deer needs to stay there. Like I always say, I mean, vultures and everything have to eat too, and they're part of our cycle. So.
And which also brought up another question. Game and wildlife need to be preserved as well as harvested at certain times, which
Yes.
is why we have our game wardens.
Correct. So there is a charge out there called waste of game, to where if let's say a hunter harvested a deer but didn't do anything with it and let it go to waste, that is called waste of game. So we want the hunters to be able to properly take care of their game animals and get it to either a processor or to your place of residence, somewhere where you can properly take care of it without wasting.
Right. And it helps our ecosystem, keeps our community healthy and everything.
Yes.
So I think that was it.
I guess just to kind of to leave everyone with good information, remind them where they can go to learn how to reach you, what website that is again,
Sure.
and
Sure.
where to find this information.
Sure. So the best way to reach me is through my cell phone, which is available on our website at texasparksandwildlife.texas.gov, and all you'll do is just click on Game Warden up there, and then click on Wilson County, and my name and number will pop up. And like I said, also with the Outdoor Annual app on your phones, that will give all the changing information, regulations that you need to properly have a successful season.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time today, and for our viewers who have come back now a third time and make sure that they heard the conversation. Be sure to go back and you can see this video in full on our YouTube channel in a little while later today. We want to thank you for being here, Mr. Fretz.
You bet.
And we also thank our sponsor, that's Price Chrysler Dodge Ram and Jeep here in Floresville. They are located on 181, and you can shop cars and careers, and a huge service department to serve you. Be sure to get by there and visit them. You can find them on their website at www.pricecdrj.com. Thank you so much, Price, for your sponsorship of this and many other videos in the past. And that concludes today's conversation. Again, thank you, everyone. It was great having you. And be sure to join us again next Wednesday, back here, same time, 10 o'clock next Wednesday. See you then.
Thank you.
Bye.